It's time for On the Farm in Alabama, bringing farmers and agribusiness the latest news from Alabama Extension and the Auburn University College of Agriculture. Now here's your host, Alabama Extension Regional Agent, Eddie McGriff.
Good day. I'd like to welcome everybody today to On the Farm in Alabama, and today I'm with Dr. Scott Graham, entomologist with Alabama Extension. And Scott, one thing we're seeing is a lot of fall armyworms throughout the South.
Yeah, Eddie, and thanks for having me on today. Glad to be back on the farm in Alabama. But yeah, we kind of started several weeks ago in Texas and west of us. People kind of started talking about these fall armyworm outbreaks, and over the last week to 10 days, it's really blown up in the Mid-South. Our colleagues there are calling it epic, saying some folks with 20, 30-year careers never really quite seen anything like this. And really over this past weekend, today is the 26th as we're recording, so the 24th, 25th, we started getting some phone calls about them as well here in Alabama.
One thing, when we talk about fall armyworms, we're seeing them mostly in grass crops, pastures, hay fields. I would say that other people that have grass crops need to be concerned about them, but there's two different types of fall armyworms.
Yeah, so what we're dealing with right now, we suspect, is the grass strain, and that's the one that you mentioned in pastures, forages, golf courses, yards. Generally, they're easy to kill with pyrethroids, which are pretty economical to use. You go out there and spray them, you come back a day or two later, and they're gone, and it's no big deal. Well, for whatever reason this year, we're starting to run into situations where these pyrethroids are missing. And when that happens, it causes problems. So we're trying to kind of talk about it right now and let folks know, we're starting to see these misses in Alabama with pyrethroids. So that's important for a couple of reasons. One is we need to be looking, because by the time you see the birds out in the pasture or in the field, it's probably too late. And we can't just assume if we spray a pyrethroid, we don't have to go back and check up on that application. We really need to be watching for it. And as far as in our row crops, what we're really concerned about are our late planted beans. We've got a lot of beans that were planted behind wheat, and those beans are not very tall yet. They don't have a lot of foliage, and be it because of a wheat crop that was in the field, you've got some grasses coming up, or just spots where we couldn't get into the field because of all this rain we've been getting across the state the last several weeks. We have a lot of these grass crops in the field. The armyworms are coming in, settling there, and then either they consume all of the grass and then they move to these young soybeans, or we finally get in and spray a herbicide, we kill those grasses, and they move into the soybeans.
So what are some of the options? We know that it's kind of risky if, say, you're in a soybean crop to spray a pyrethroid, because you're probably not going to kill the fall armyworms from what we're seeing on the reports. What are your options? Yeah,
and we've gotten reports from Colbert County in the Tennessee Valley all the way down to Monroe County in South Alabama where pyrethroids have missed them. So we don't feel like this is kind of a regional thing. A lot of times when we talk about insect management in Alabama, it varies if you're in the Tennessee Valley or in the wiregrass or in central Alabama. With this thing, it's looking pretty like it's going to be widespread, and so really what I'm telling folks is at this point I'm not comfortable with pyrethroid. If I've got a big infestation of these fall armyworms, I'm looking to go with some of the diamides. I don't know if I should get into trade names or not, but these.
Well, most people would know them as Prevethon,
Besiege, Vantacor is a new name for them. Those products provide good residual control. They're not super fast acting, but they do work very well. You've also, if you get in early enough, you've got your insect growth regulators like Demlin or Diamond or options. But then you've also got your other insect growth regulators such as Intrepid or Troubadour or Intrepid Edge, which provide control. Don't quite have the same rain fastness as those diamides do. So the pyrethroids, which are very inexpensive, are not working, but we still can control them with these products that cost a little bit more. But if it's either have your soybeans eaten down to the ground or spraying a little bit more, it's absolutely worth it to spend that extra money and go ahead and take care of those fall armyworms if they're in the field.
Well, I would say one thing when we get to Dimlin, it is a great material on your green clover worms, on your velvet bean caterpillars, but it will not give the type of control that we're used to on green clover worms or velvet bean caterpillars with the fall armyworms. It says on its label it's suppression, and you usually have to go with a higher rate.
Yeah. So generally we're talking 2 ounces of Dimlin for those later season pests. For this, we're probably talking 4 ounces, and like you mentioned, it's suppression. So that's not if you go out and you've got large worms in the field, it's too late for the insect growth regulators, the Dimlins. We've got to go to some of these other products. That's a good point, Eddie.
I want to thank Scott for being with us today and everybody for tuning in, and tune in to our next episode of On the Farm in Alabama.